Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So another day and another round of people seething and projecting over fictional content. Over the past month or so, I've been collecting various examples of people seething about anime, cartoons, or just fictional content generally. And in this video, we're going to see examples of people trying to argue about the subject with AI chatbots and somehow losing. We're going to see examples of people trying to force their agenda into fictional content and then getting very upset when people with opposite beliefs do the exact same thing, among other examples. So we're going to start with this post right here that says, "Points at the sign." And the quote says, 90% of the problem with Twitter is treating fictional people like they're real and real people like they're fictional. We've seen this quote all the time, and it's very true. Now, people would get upset about this and start trying to get an own on this original post, including this gimmick account saying, "The fiction doesn't affect reality crowd when you bring up the Jaws effects." Now, here's another rule for Twitter. If you see any of the I show speed GIFs, 90% chance whatever you're looking at is garbage. It's a terrible post. But what they're referring to is the Jaws effect, which people try to use as an own on people who know the difference between fiction and reality. They got hit with a note describing this supposed effect. It says, "Jaws did not create a fear of sharks. Jaws capitalized on the fear of sharks. The movie was made after shark attacks had already happened. It didn't cause anyone who didn't already want to hunt sharks to hunt sharks." And this is very similar to the whole Slender Man theory, where people once again say the Slender Man stabbings prove that fiction does affect reality. But the actual case here is that two mentally ill girls lured their friend out into the woods and stabbed her to death as a sort of ritual to please the fictional character Slender Man. Again, people use this as proof fiction does affect reality. Well, it does if you're mentally ill. And that's the case with these two girls. In fact, the main person behind the stabbing has schizophrenia. Hence why they believe Slender Man was actually real and was actually going to be pleased with their actions. And side note, one of the people involved with it recently escaped a group home after cutting off her ankle monitor. Yeah, they walk among us once again, apparently. They're just on the loose. But anyways, I want to cover something here involving Smiling Friends, because the gimmick account that did the whole Jaws effect thing, they repost a lot of Smiling Friends, which kind of leads me to my next point. This scene from a recent episode has been making some waves because it depicts Alan here cosplaying at a convention, and then he's attacked by this fan right here. Now, here's the issue for some people. They believe that this depiction right here is transphobic. Yes, here's a real post from Blue Sky saying, "I haven't watched the new Smiling Friends, but I got spoiled on the post-credit scene, and that was certainly a choice to make by cis writers in the year of our Lord 2025. Another rule for the internet: if you see cis used unironically, you're about to read a garbage post as well. And it's certainly true here as well. They continue on saying, "Dear cis comedy writers, I don't believe anything is necessarily off limits when it comes to comedy, but if someone who hates a particular group of people could use your screenshot as a means to harass them, maybe don't do that joke." Well, here's the problem. These people are the ones who are claiming this character represents trans people. So then people are making jokes and observations based on that. And here's one post that many agree with, saying, if you see this sort of a character's depiction and immediately think it's a trans woman, you might just be the transphobic one in this scenario. But let's move on to the next subject of today's video. Grok and antis being owned by this AI chatbot. So this first one's going to involve Little Witch Nobeta and their official Twitter account. Now, in case you're not familiar, they like to post very lewd images of their main protagonist, and it makes people seethe. And as always, if you don't like that stuff, totally fine, but don't slander people over it. And honestly, don't interact with any of this stuff, even if you're mad, because it's just saying to the algorithm that you like this content because you keep engaging with it. It's very self-defeating. Well, this person sees an image I can't show from the official account, and they tag Grok and say, "Why is this person allowed to post lollies?" That's a child being depicted sexually. And first, they get hit with a community note, which says, this is a drawing, not a child. No child is being depicted in this drawing. Imagine needing the notes to tell you, this isn't real. This is not real. This is a drawing. Now, this is a great combination right here. Say what you want about Elon Musk. He's made two really good features for Twitter. Revamping the note system, and in some cases, Grok clapping back at people who are trying to use the system to prove their own agenda. And that's what we get here. We get both. So Grok responds to the request saying, fictional anime characters like Nobeta aren't real children, so their stylized depictions in games don't constitute child exploitation or harm. Little Witch Nobeta is an action game focused on exploration and combat, not sexual content, and platforms like X will uphold free expression. And yeah, once again, needing an AI to tell you the difference between fiction and reality is sad, but they didn't have enough. So their original response got 100 likes. Grok's response got nearly 10,000, but the beating's not over yet. They want to go another round. So they say, okay, at Grok, I'll just report the image and see if the support team agrees. And Grok replies again, ratioing them into the Shadow Realm once again, saying reporting fictional anime art like Nobeta's won't violate X's rules on child exploitation since no real harm occurs. Support teams follow policies prioritizing free expression for stylized, non-real depictions over subjective offense. Fantasy and reality are not the same thing. Yes, this was a brutal beatdown to watch, and also shame on people like this who represent a very big problem on Twitter, where they are openly reporting fictional content that will not violate the X terms of service, and they're clogging the report system with inactionable posts where the actual offensive material that is illegal is getting clogged up in the same system with stuff like this that is not reportable. So the fact that they're admitting this, they're quite literally putting people at risk. Vulnerable people, children, because they're clogging up the report system that should be used for actual violative content. But anyways, if you think this is such a crazy event, it's not even the first time this has happened. Very recently too, someone was projecting over fictional content. They got told by Grok that no, pedophilia is not an attraction to fictional content. And they deactivated after this. But anyways, let's move on to people trying to insert politics into anime and fictional content. And there's been one side doing it very hard for a long time. And now people are either using it for themselves or clapping back at them, and they don't like it. So here's Mother's Basement, upset because the One Piece symbol is being used by this post saying, tomorrow will be the largest protest in Mexican history. The Mexican people have had enough of the corruption and violence that the cartels have brought on a once great country. So as pointed out here, this post is defending cartels. Just by the reaction here to them using that symbol, it appears they are defending cartels. That is a wild thing to do. But here's another example of agendas coming through with fictional content. I talked about this briefly about a week ago, but the Homeland Security account, the official one, said finishing this fight with obviously a depiction of Halo saying, destroy the flood, join.ice.gov. And people got so angry, including a lot of people who've been constantly inserting their own agenda into fictional content. You can see people like this saying, calling human people the flood is a fascist ideology. It's abhorrent that Microsoft allows this. Yeah, Flood Hands made this post and all the other ones that are seething about the original one. But also, we have this insane tweet. Halo is being used for right-wing propaganda. If you know this community, we've been through some absolute stupid effing stuff, and yet we are still standing. We may not all get along, but this is certainly not supporters of a predator president and his racist militia. Stay cool. They continue on. This is our franchise and our community, and we're not going to let some greasy sacks of stuff turn it into something worse. That's our job to make it worse if we want, and we will enjoy it. So this person's so upset about that original post that they say, our community, we're going to make things worse in order to get other people we don't like out. We will burn this whole thing down if it gets rid of the people we don't like. Insane stuff. Now, let's move on to this post that brings up a very good point. What's the matter? Don't like it when a franchise is used to push an agenda? And for many years, Halo and Microsoft have been making Pride posts every single year, right on June 1st, the classic corporate virtue signaling. The day June 1st arrives, they have this preloaded, and it's just a virtue signal and check boxes. And yeah, I guess they don't like the agenda pushing now, huh? But anyways, we also have this post talking about your name. The original one says, just realized if your name was released just a few years later, creators would be trying to claim it and would reduce the whole plot and message to it being a transgender allegory. And this person says, just say y'all hate trans people at this point. Not going the way you thought it would, huh? Yeah, getting ratioed terribly here. This is not really a joke. I could see how people would try to twist it in this modern time we live in. That's just how things have been. And here's one last one. People still seething about this song, saying, it's crazy you can make the most absolute uninspired dog stuff song ever in the Vocaloid community and still get popular. Seething about the music video. That's something people have been doing for years. And totally not jealous. A totally not jealous post here. Maybe if so many people like it, maybe it's appealing to people. I don't know, man. It's a crazy idea, but just saw this and really caps off the coping, seething, and projecting we've been looking at throughout this entire video. But that's going to do it. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.